right. Good morning, afternoon, evening to you all. I'm assuming all of you are like now back home or away or just enjoying your fall break in general. I know that it's a little unfortunate that you guys have to see this video prior to coming back to class, but here we are. I'll try to make it brief. I'm just going to explain what the protocol is going to be for the isometric mid-thigh pull, which is a brand new lab that we created as recently as like 2 to 3 weeks ago. I'm quite excited though to present it to you guys in class. In terms of how it's going to work with the syllabus, as you guys will be able to see, there's something that says week 1 and week 2 for the isometric mid-thigh pull. This is because the first time that I'm going to ask you guys to come to class is going to be for a familiarization meeting. The second time that I'm going to ask you guys to come to class is going to be for the actual data collection itself. The reason why we're doing a familiarization meeting before data collection is that, as you guys will see, the isometric mid-thigh pull movement is not as technical as something like the squat or the deadlift or any weightlifting movements for that matter. However, depending on how you position yourself under the bar and onto the force plates, that does change significantly what type of readings you're going to get. So we're just going to keep it with a familiarization meeting and then an actual data collection structure. So it's kind of like the broad jump week 1 and week 2, but in this case, you're going to be coming to both classes, if that makes sense. So the first thing that we will do on week 1 is that we're going to be taking actually counter movement jump data. We're going to still be doing it the first week, and then isometric mid-thigh pull familiarization. In terms of the counter movement jump, that's actually how we're going to be starting the class. We're going to be using basically an automatic mat where the individual is going to be stepping onto the mat upon turning on the monitor and so on. They're going to be given 2 warm-up jumps, one at 50% and one at 75% of their perceived effort, to sort of get used to the movement, as you guys are seeing in the video. This is quite similar to what we did in the broad jump, with the exception that in this case we're going for vertical distance and not horizontal. After the 2 warm-up jumps, then we're actually going to be asking the subject to do a full max effort jump. They're going to be receiving cues from the classmates, being like 3, 2, 1, jump, and then execute the full counter movement with their upper body first, and then going to full extension and then reaching as high as they can. Upon landing, the jump mat will provide the reading of that height. We're going to be doing this twice, so it's going to be 2 valid trials for data collection. Afterwards, the subject will go into a familiarization and then a specific warm-up for the mid-thigh pull itself. As you guys can see in the video, we're going to have the subject assume the position close to the wall so that they can keep the specific position associated with the isometric mid-thigh pull. Classmates and me, the instructor myself, will be giving the subject cues such as keeping your feet stacked under your hips, keeping a neutral spine and an upright chest, holding the bar at or slightly wider than their shoulder width, and then something else that will be applied once the person is actually under the mid-thigh pull rack, to try and not pull with their shoulders and traps, but try to keep their shoulder blades in their back pockets and keep that upright but relaxed at the shoulders position. After teaching this position, then we're going to have the subject step onto the isometric mid-thigh pull rack, where a fellow classmate will measure their knee angle and make sure that the technique that we just taught them is replicable at a specific height of the isometric mid-thigh pull rack. As you guys can see, there's multiple holes on the mid-thigh pull rack. So depending on the person's height and just anthropometric measures, we're going to have to adjust that so that they can maintain that position and keep their knee angle in a range between your document says 115 to your document on Canvas says 125 to 135. We're actually going to be changing that a little bit. By the time you see this video, maybe I will already have changed that on Canvas. It's going to be 115 to 135 degrees. We're going to measure the angle as shown in the video. Reminder that I'm doing that on myself, so I'm not actually using maintaining the angle that is required for this class. I'm just showing where to position the goniometer so that you guys get the correct reading. So always check for the middle of your knee where you expect the axis of that joint to be. Align that with your lateral malleolus on your ankle. And then finally, also looking for where your hip axis is and where the joint moves. You're gonna align the last leg of the goniometer to that specific point, sort of using your hand to help guide you from where the goniometer ends and where you think the axis is. Big reminder, the axis of your hip is not your great trochanter. That one is the bony projection that we've used in the past for data collection with qualices. I'm not asking you to look for that. I'm asking you to look exactly for the axis of your hip, which is facilitated if you just follow along the line of your femur and sort of go right in the middle of your gluteus max, sort of like also coinciding with the gluteus medius. So just remember that even if I show it to you in class, it's not going to be the greater trochanter that you're looking for. After the subject as assumed position under the rack, we've determined that that's the correct height because they're within range of what we want for the knee angle. Then we're gonna go ahead and make them do their isometric mid-thigh pull specific warm-up, which is gonna consist of a set of a dynamic pulse. The first set of 5 reps is going to be with a PVC pipe. The second set of 5 is going to be with an empty barbell. And then we're going to be doing one set of the barbell with some additional weight on. We're going to be keeping 30 kgs for females and 40 kgs for men. The subjects will then be asked to step onto the rack, assume that position that we just rehearsed with them, and execute 3 trials on the isometric mid-thigh pull. Again, this is all for familiarization. We're not asking them to repeat this, to do this so that we can collect data out of them this time. And they're going to be at 50, 75, and then 100% of their perceived effort. And that would be the end of week 1. In terms of week 2, we're basically going to do everything of the last part of the previous class, with the exception that in this instance, we're trying to get as much data out of them as possible. So we're going to start with just assuming that basically we're gonna keep track of the angle and the height on the isometric mid-thigh pull that they had in the previous class. We're gonna keep the same subjects from one class to the other, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the specific warm-up. So again, one set of 5 reps with the PVC pipe, one set of 5 reps with the empty barbell, one set of 5 reps with the loaded barbell, and then 1 rep at 50% of their perceived effort on the isometric mid-thigh pull, and then another rep at 75%. Afterwards, the subjects will actually take position on the rack, again, guided by the instructors and classmates, do 2 to 3 maximal isometric mid-thigh pull trials, and then that data collection will actually occur as they're doing so, and the data points obtained from those trials will be their express force at 100 milliseconds, same thing, express force for 200 milliseconds, and then the absolute force score overall obtained for them. I'll give additional instruction of what I want out of you guys for the assignment itself. As you'll see in the document on Canvas, the tables for the lab report to come are already present, so you guys can already take a look at that. But that is all that I have for you all. Again, make sure that if you have any questions, despite fall break, despite anything, try and come up to me before class. The difference for this lab specifically, as it is right concomitant with fall break, we're probably going to be doing the quiz throughout week 1 before week 2. So that's one thing to remember. Again, I'll post an assignment on Canvas, so don't overly worry about that. But that's all that I have for you today. I hope you guys are enjoying fall break as we speak, and I'll see you guys in a week.